Namathu Ratanatayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Zim, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and my teachers. Hello, good evening, everyone. So today is Wednesday, the 6th of January 2020, and this is Ajahn Sujan from Warapunya Meditation Center, Aberdeen, Scotland. So as usual, I'm here with you all tonight. I hope that you're all keeping well. Hello, Manish. Hello, Margaret, and everyone. I hope that you're all keeping well. And the center, we're still in the spell of a snow queen. All the roads and the grass are still frozen. And despite of the frozen, and it's nice to see sunlight, yeah, and also beautiful view around. And today, despite of this snow and this ice around the garden, when you walk, it's like a crispy, and it's so nice to hear those crispy walks. And Thanachan Tita Damo enjoying this cold and having a fire out there, enjoying the weather. Despite of that, there are some, very sad newses that the weather is going to be still cold out up here, maybe -1 or -2. I remember this morning when I was going to health village for my health checkup. I realized it was -2. And this is going to be another couple of days, still will be frozen around the center. Meanwhile, because of the COVID-19, this is spreading so fast, and in line with the government's guidelines, we have closed the center for any visitors, but anyone who would like to offer a dana, then they can come and leave at the front. Monks will collect it. So far today, again, a few members offered the dana, so thank you very much, and we appreciate it. From the statistic, I can gather that today is the highest people who died due to the coronavirus since April. And so this is very sad. It's over 1,000 people died today, and new cases were again registered over 60,000, which is again, the BBC says that the highest since the mass test been introduced. And currently there are over 30,000 people affected by the COVID and staying in the hospitals around the UK. Meanwhile, all four nations, England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, are still in lockdown. Particularly in Scotland, confirmed cases is over 140,000 cases, positive cases, and around 4,700 has been killed. Now, over the 7 days, the result says that there are over 16,000 cases reported and confirmed 2,000 cases. So this is in a sharp rise. It's like a more serious than previous the first lockdown, and it's become really severe. And so we all need to be mindful and all need to be looking after and taking care of one another. And here first, once you look after yourself, then that basically been looking after others too. So make sure that you look after yourself, particularly washing your hands, having a masks if you're going into anybody else, or if you don't have a masks, then making sure 2 meters apart. And that's all we can do at the moment. And again, in line with this, our members, particularly our few members who are very close to us, again died. So it is a sad news. There's particular a person is in Peter, who was also supporting us from Perth, and I was reported that this morning, last night, he died in a hospital and waiting for the body to arrive. Meanwhile, this afternoon, I was informed that one of the member of the community whom I have been looking after and visiting almost every day, and having a good relationship with this man in his 70s. And the recent 2 weeks, I didn't manage to go and visit him due to my health condition, and I had a fear that I may have a COVID-19 and I may spread it to him. So that's why I didn't go to see him. And I was informed that he passed away last night. So his name is Bert from Aberdeen. So Bert, in particular, very interesting man. He was born and brought up in Aberdeen, and so he was a proper Aberdonian and a brilliant guy. And then he was a scientist and traveled many different countries and worked in many different places, like in Mexico, America, Singapore, Switzerland, Japan, England, and even work for the MOD in England. Was a brilliant scientist in physics. He is fond of it. And later, after his father died, he come across with Buddhism, and he came to study Buddhism. And since 2013, he was close to me and visiting me, and we had wonderful discussions regarding the meditation and the science. And he normally used to combine his scientific understanding and the Buddhist meditation. Particularly, he was with the, what is it called, physics. And then the book on insight meditation written by Mahasi Sayadaw. He said that there is no difference in between the technique of insight meditation and the physics. And particularly, he normally used to say that Buddhist teachings are so fascinating, and that's very close to the scientific discoveries nowadays. And he's very fond of it, Buddhism and Buddhist meditation. And over this 7-8 years of a time, he had read so many Buddhist books, even the scriptures, Buddhist scriptures. And also we invited him to give a talk on Buddhism and physics as well. So, but later, after, well, I was close to his mom as well. His mom also died 2 years ago in the hospital. His mom also quite a character. She was almost 100 years. She was, I think, 98 years of age, and she was very sharp, and her consciousness was still good. I was talking to her and having a good chat. And that night I left her in the hospital. I said that, okay, I will come back and see you tomorrow. And she said that, okay, but may not be see me. and that was the sign, and which little did I know that she was saying, and then next day she passed away. So, but for the Albert or the Bert, he passed away last night, and so sad. So, what we can do, as the Buddha said, that marana dhammom hi maranang anatitoti. Yeah, so that means we are not beyond death. We have to die. It's a nature of a death, and particularly this time, since last year, obviously, and we have been hearing so much about the death and so much about dying and scary news going around. Even just in the beginning, I mentioned about people died over 1,000 people, thousand over 1,000 due to the COVID-19, and I'm pretty sure that those who are listening today may have experienced someone who is close to you have died or passed away, or and cannot visit, and then something like that. And again, even this evening when I was having a chat with Sandra, Anton was saying that this year they have experienced quite a few relatives and friends who passed away, but unable to attend or be there. And not only, I think, not only Sandra or Tune, but there are so many other people who also are experiencing such a tragedy and unable to be there. And a few days ago, I was attending this interfaith reflection, and in there as well, there were a few people saying that some relatives were visiting in the UK, and somehow due to the COVID-19, they're unable to go back. And during this time, a few members passed away in their homelands and unable to go back and feel, and as a result, the mentally they are very down and very sad. And this is again a nature that we cannot avoid, and just a sad time, sad moment that we cannot be there. Regardless of that, a death is certain, since we are born. If there is no birth, then there will be no death, but we are already born. Regardless of disliking it, we have to go, we have to experience the death. And in relation to that, when we talk about the death, according to the Buddha's teachings, there are four ways or four causes of a death. And the first cause is called through the expiration of a lifespan. And the second is through the expiration of a productive karma force. And the third could be both. And then the last one, it's like upachedhaka, means there is like intervention of destructive karma. And here, when we talk about the expiration of a lifespan, then we basically talking about the human lifespan during this time. So according to Buddhism, this time is regarded as the maximum or the standard age should be 75, and whoever crossed 75, then you have got the bonus, and due to your merits, and it could be due to your vipaka, you're still going through. And if you are over 75 and still healthy and walking around, your consciousness is still fit, you can do everything without any helps from anyone. You can eat, you can talk, you can do whatever you like. Then that means you have a merit, you have accumulated significant merit, and that's why you are still having a good time and over a 75. But after 75, again, if you have to leave, then you should be happy that now I have lived a fullest of my life. But meanwhile, if you are living over than 75 and suffering with so many other illnesses and difficulties and always troubled, and then that means you are experiencing so-called vipaka, the results of what you have done probably in this life or in the past or previous lives. So you are experiencing in that state of sufferings. So all what you can do, that taking this opportunity that this body is basically decaying, and all what you need is to be mindful that your mind, you can keep it straight and keep it strong. So the Buddha's advice is that let this body decay, not the mind, or let this body feel suffer, but not this mind. So making sure that the mind is still strong and straight. And this we can get it through the practice of a meditation. And this practice of a meditation, although we focus mostly on a bodily contemplation like the breathing in and breathing out or rising and falling of abdomen, we spend a significant amount of a time meditating on this. But the important factor through the practice, what we need to be mindful is our own mindset, because as we grow old, as we got some illnesses, then physical body become immovable or a deficiency. At that time, what is very active is the mind. So we need to be careful of what we think, what we do, and mindful every action you are performing. And that will pave a new way, and that will brings happiness despite of illnesses and the suffering that you are going through. And then also you know how to deal with this moment, and you can find a complete uh, freedom from any sufferings. So do not let your mind suffer um, if you are still suffering. So that's the lifespan. But again, so, it is not a definite that the 75 is the standard. Sometimes it can be in a short-lived, and that's the expiration of a productive karma force. That means like a car which run out of oil or the fuel in the middle of the road. So that means the karma has run out. In that case, again, someone can die in between or before 75. So it can happen to anyone, because we do not know that how much merits that we have accumulated in the past, whether by giving a danas or donations or practice of a sila or the practice of a meditation are the common one to accumulate merits. So that's why the second expiration of a destructive karma forces is again can happen to any one of us at any age, time, or even before birth in a mother's womb. So it can happen as well. And the third one is the expiration of both. And sometimes our merits is less, and our karma forces that product our forcing us, or the energy that keeping us alive is not inactive. At that time, again, we can pass away too. So that's also a destruction of our life. The last one is quite interesting, and that is the destruction, as it's called intervention of a destructive karma. And this is, we can see in two ways. One is like a coronavirus. Suppose we do know that we have to be careful with all the measures that is implemented, that we should be implementing, and yet we become a negligent and not wearing a mask, or not having a distance, or not washing our hands, and basically we are more vulnerable to get the virus, and the virus can be deadly. So, and that's how our life can be ended. So that's the one. Another similarly is like caught up in the accidents, and then we also experience of the death. That also can be the expiration, the intervention of destructive karma. So this is also the accidental, and can happen to any one of us too. So that's why we need to be very mindful, and we need to be always remembering of the destruction of our life at any moment, regardless of what. And the question may arise that what happens after a death, and which is a very common question that everybody wants to know. And according to the Buddha's teachings, what we find that there are four ways of thinking of, four ways of seeing it, and that normally is about the near-death experience. Okay, and the perception of a dying, according to the Buddha's teachings, what we understand that the moment of when we are going to die, at that time is like we are watching a movie, and then uh, we are the whole movie is like a set of hundreds and thousands of pictures coming together. And any picture that you have taken so many times, it will be more visible than any other pictures which you have just taken one shot. So like that, the death moment, the near death experience, that time, what happens is that we will be remembering the any actions that we have done, whether good action or a bad action, which we have done in the same lifetime. Since we become a conscious and we have performed the actions, and those actions become the dominant at that time of a near-death experience. And the second factor that we become conscious or aware of that is that it's called a sign of a sign of action. And here it's talking about any object or any images that is associated with the action that you have performed, whether the good action or the bad action. That's why uh, in here, whenever you are doing big yeah, good actions, you're making a big. So that's why in Buddhism, particularly in Buddhist countries, like making building a temple, building the uposatha, the chapel, ordination of anyone, or offering a robe, katina ceremony, these are celebrated highly. And then someone who become a sponsor of those events, they have to spend a lot of time preparation, a lot of time for the whole preparation of the events. And that's simply the signs of those activities. It will be staying in your mind. Suppose you have given up your sons or your daughters become a monk, and you have you have a ceremony this in a grandeur. You will be remembering that moment of a joy and a happiness, and so that's the sign you have. So you will be remembering as a second factor during the near death experience. And the third, because of your having those signs, and that it defines the destination, and it's called a symbol of realms to be born. So if you are doing if you are thinking, or if in your mind any good wholesome deeds popping in, and you're considering that, then it will be a good destination. There's a patisandhi called the patisandhi, means the rebirth leaking. So you will be reborn in that moment. But the last one we need to be very careful one, that is, suppose you're visiting your relatives in the hospitals or in their houses, and they are in a deathbed, or they are suffering, and then we know that they are going to die soon, and at that moment we shouldn't be making any negative expressions like, oh, wish you could have gone to this doctor and that doctor, or why didn't your daughter or why don't your son didn't come and look after you, or why your son didn't take you to the home or take you to the hospital, take you to the care, why he or she didn't come to look after you. Such explanation or such discussion shouldn't be made with the person who is dying and who is in a deathbed, because that is the last consciousness moment that mind has grasped. So at that moment, any negativities he or she has grasped during this near death, deathbed, that defines the next life. So that's why if you're visiting anyone, make sure you are not talking about any if and so like that. You simply encouraging them to remember any good actions that they have done in their previous life, trying to let them remember any good things that they have done, doesn't matter how big or small, or trying to talk about something which is you have done together and had a lovely time and wonderful moments. So that's why whenever I am invited to visit people in a deathbeds, I normally talk about letting go and forgiveness, and think of good things that you have done, like inviting a monks or ordination, attending of ordination ceremonies, or building the temples, or helping to build the schools or hospitals and like that. And I have seen a great benefit of talking in that way, and which always cheer them up, and which also help them to let go and forgiving. So every time when they're able to forgive and forget, so that will change the whole the destination, and that's how one will be reborning in the new right or good destination. So making sure that whenever you are talking to someone who is pretty, in a bad situation and in a deathbed, encouraging them to think about good things, encouraging them to think about any wholesome actions that they have done, and never talk about why she didn't do this and do that, why he and she never visited, and something like that. So I end here for tonight's reflection on the death, which I wasn't intending to do. But anyhow, I hope that it helps you to understand a little bit more on the death and how to prepare death for ourselves as well. So, however, until you're still breathing, conscious, making sure, stay safe, take care, and do good things, and then be mindful of every action that you perform. So thank you very much for listening, and may you all be well and happy. In a few moments time, we're going to have an evening chanting and guided meditation. You're most welcome to join with us. Until then, good night, and may the Buddha Dhamma Sangha bless you. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you.